straight ahead on 12 News, helping police diffuse tense situations.
We just know that we're better with it than without it.
What Brooklyn Park police are doing to handle people in the midst of a mental health crisis. Plus, local students with a big business idea. Now learning how hard it is to make it in the startup world.
We made a lot of good connections, but at the same time, it's money, and people aren't just going to give it away that easily.
But first, now that planning for light rail is full speed ahead, how other development in the Northwest Metro might soon follow. 12 News starts right now. Hello and thanks for joining us. It could be the redevelopment boost some local cities have been waiting for.
As planning for light rail moves ahead, city officials hope planning for new homes and businesses will follow. Here's Mike Johnson with the story.
Right now we're standing in the Hubbard Marketplace building.
In Robbinsdale, the Hubbard Marketplace has been used as a bus station for years after plans to attract business to the 100-year-old building never materialized.
It's a big, beautiful space, and it is terribly underused.
With light rail, Councilmember George Selman hopes that will change.
We're hoping it might be a nice retail environment, or it could be a series of smaller businesses, perhaps a restaurant has an interest.
Light rail tracks would run just a few feet to the west. Plans include a welcoming green space designed to get commuters' attention.
We want to get people to not just sit on the train and, oh, look at that. We want them to get off the train and come explore Robbinsdale.
Just down Hubbard Avenue, the EMI Sound and Video Store and the Oriental Market would give way to a parking garage that would be hidden behind 2 stories of office and commercial development. Selman says it will transform Hubbard Avenue. The street connecting Hubbard to West Broadway could turn into a pedestrian promenade.
We get really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to double the number of main streets we have, because Hubbard now can become almost a second main street for us.
Planners say it's not out of the question because light rail has brought that kind of development to other neighborhoods. City officials point to redevelopment like this building across the street in Minneapolis. It's on the Green Line and is now student housing and commercial property. One study says in 2013 the property was valued at just over $1 million. Now, after redevelopment, its value jumped to $13 million.
I think some of the stations will be exciting right from the start and others will take more time.
County Board member Mike Opat, a big supporter of Bottineau Light Rail, says it's the promise of long-term transportation that appeals to developers.
The biggest thing that gets the development community excited about an area is that the commitment to light rail is going to be for 30 or 40 or 50 years.
Opat says the Robbinsdale station is a home run waiting to happen. Others may not see the same big changes.
The ones around Theodore Wirth Park, I think it's largely a neighborhood now. It's going to stay that way.
But Opat says stations at Crystal and Northern Brooklyn Park could also bring big changes for a long time.
The decisions we're making now are going to last for 100 years.
Mike Johnson, 12 News.
Studies done in the last several years on development along the Hiawatha Line have pointed to only a limited impact from light rail. But experts point out those studies covered years during the recession when many development plans were put on hold.
The Brooklyn Center City Council will vote on placing new restrictions on Level 3 sex offenders or those most likely to reoffend. The City Council is considering an ordinance change that would prevent Level 3s from living within 2,000 feet of schools, child care facilities, or public playgrounds. The city believes such action is necessary due to restrictions recently put in place in Minneapolis, where newly released offenders are not allowed to live in certain zip codes. Because of that ban, there is evidence more Level 3s are choosing to live in Brooklyn Center. And of the 16 Level 3 sex offenders that live in Hennepin County cities other than Minneapolis, 6 live in Brooklyn Center.
Robbinsdale police are warning residents to be vigilant when it comes to crimes of opportunity. Police say some folks have had their vehicles rummaged through because the doors were unlocked. Officials say when the weather gets warmer, these types of crimes spike. Police are also getting a lot of phone calls about phone scams, people being solicited for money. The Robbinsdale Police Department will hold a crime prevention meeting at the police department on April 6th at 7 p.m. to talk about these issues. Police in Brooklyn Park are receiving special training to help respond to tense situations.
Such situations often involve people going through a mental health crisis. Eric Nelson has more on the training and why it's needed.
Brooklyn Park's population continues to rise. Unfortunately, the number of crisis intervention cases is on the rise too.
We were dispatched on the front end to about 400 of them in 2010, and right now in 2016 we're on pace to be over 800.
I don't know what else to do.
Because of this,
I think we can figure some stuff out, okay?
Brooklyn Park police officers recently went through a week-long crisis intervention training class.
Here, the focus is really on the verbal de-escalation.
So you want to talk to me, Amy?
The 40-hour course teaches officers how to deal with people who are battling mental illness.
The first thing this training does is give them the tools to identify this may not just be a domestic between a husband and a wife fighting. This may be a mental illness involved where the tactics and techniques to de-escalate the situation would be much different.
For part of the course, officers interact with professional actors,
I'm going to be here with you all day long. We'll talk all day.
simulating real-life scenarios.
We have people with mental illnesses say that it is very accurate. The officers are going to tell us afterwards that it's very similar to what they've been seeing on the street.
I want you to think this through.
For officers, staying cool and calm is key.
It gives the officers another tool in that they have another option to pull out, which is verbal de-escalation when we do slow down and give people a voice that is more likely to de-escalate.
Crisis intervention training is the first step in a challenging process, but it's not a cure-all.
None of the training here is a magic pill, if you will, a magic wand. It is not going to stop or all officer-involved shootings.
There is a cost involved for this type of training, as it pulls some officers off their beat for a chunk of time. But police believe they are much better off with it than without it. In Brooklyn Park, I'm Eric Nelson, Channel 12 News.
Brooklyn Park has 107 police officers, and so far 21 officers have received crisis intervention training. 10 years ago, just one officer had gone through the training. Brooklyn Park's top dog will get a new treat, retirement. Police canine Diesel spent 8 years with the Brooklyn Park Police Force. He and his handler, Officer Jason Buck, were honored in 2013 for their work tracking down suspects involved in multiple burglaries. Depending on health, police dogs typically retire around 10 years of age. Diesel was one of 2 Brooklyn Park police dogs.
The only undeveloped corner at Elm Creek Boulevard and Hemlock Lane in Maple Grove may not stay that way for much longer. The Maple Grove Planning Commission meets to review a proposal called The Village at Arbor Lakes. The land is currently an open field, but under the plan proposed by Doran Companies, the site would be home to 2 hotels, a grocery store, 32,000 square feet of retail, and apartments. A similar plan was tabled last year over concerns about traffic. Well, coming up, a hard lesson for Wayzata students trying to start a business.
And then a little bit later in sports, a former Wayzata hockey standout signs with the Minnesota Wild. We'll have the details.
But first, a shot at 60 degrees on Tuesday, then it starts to cool back down. Welcome back. We have a follow-up story today to a story we first brought you last September.
It involves a team of Wayzata High School students with a business idea and a patent pending for a special kind of earbuds. So how is their startup company doing? Well, in this week's Business Matters, we revisit the students for a look at what it's like to try and start a company. Teenagers Bharat Pulgam and Zach Kennedy know there's a market for the product they're trying to launch.
People always break their earbuds, and if they have earbuds in, they're walking, they're talking, whatever happens, they're in their bag, something breaks.
Mixers Audio is the startup company founded by Wayzata High School students with a patent pending for modular earbuds. Earbuds with removable components that can be easily repaired and customized rather than replaced.
We have these other parts that you can snap, twist, and bam, replace whenever you need to.
But with all good ideas, it still ultimately takes money to get a product to market.
So our goal was $25,000.
They thought they could raise $25,000 with a Kickstarter campaign. So they sent 4,000 emails, contacted the media, and dropped off more than 1,500 flyers looking for potential investors. Yet when the deadline came, the Kickstarter effort failed with only $5,000 in pledges generated.
We have a lot of positive feedback when we were talking to people. And that's kind of where we were confused, because we would talk to people, they say, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. But we just didn't see the payout on the Kickstarter.
We made a lot of good connections, but at the same time, it's money, and people aren't just going to give it away that easily.
Disappointed but not defeated, these young entrepreneurs are retooling. They shed a few teammates in a restructuring, and they're figuring out a different strategy to raise money for product development.
We're going to do competitions as well as try to see if we can get some venture capitalists involved.
As these students move forward, eyeing the cash prizes available in competitions such as the Min Cup, they're also learning how hard it is to build a business.
I have a newfound appreciation for how much work goes into every single thing that you ever touch, feel. Even the lotion that you use has a marketing team, finance team, brand team. There's so much work that goes behind it.
The students' goal is to finalize product development and get the earbuds to a manufacturer by November. But of course, they need that money, $25,000 to move forward.
Yeah, good luck to them.
That's right.
Yep.
Coming up, how parkgoers in Plymouth can get their 15 minutes of fame and also claim a prize.
But first in sports, a season preview of the Champlin Park softball team, a team with high expectations this spring. John Jacobson has that story and more when we come back. Welcome back, and John is here now with sports.
That's right, and we are talking hockey, a local hockey named Lucia, taking it to the next level
Next
here.
level, now professional.
Yes.
Yeah, so good luck to him as the Minnesota Wild closes in on a playoff berth. A former Wayzata high school hockey star is now part of the organization. 22-year-old Mario Lucia signed a 2-year entry-level contract with the Wild on Sunday. Lucia just completed his senior year of hockey with Notre Dame, where he finished with 61 career goals. He signed an amateur tryout contract, too, allowing him to potentially play yet this spring with the Wild's Des Moines Farm Club. Lucia was drafted by the Wild in the second round of the 2011 NHL Draft. With the return of most of its starting lineup, the Champlin Park softball team is optimistic for the 2016 season. Here's Jason Malillo with a preview of the Rebels.
Champlin Park put a lot of underclassmen on the field last spring, and the experience those girls will bring this season should bode well for the Rebels.
And last year we competed well. You know, won some games we probably shouldn't have, lost some games we probably should have won, and we played a really tough schedule, and so all that stuff gives our girls a really good opportunity this year coming in.
Pitching is always crucial in high school softball, and Champlin has two good options in junior Taylor Sloat and sophomore Grace Warwa.
We always push each other to make each other better, and I think that's one of the great qualities that we two have together. We connect really well. Plus, that little friendly competition does put you over the edge quite a bit. So it's really nice that you can have someone there that's going to make you want to work harder.
To improve on last year's record, the Rebels will have to be better on defense and cut down on giving up big hits, especially late in games.
We struggled a little bit last year by giving up some home runs late in games, and so that kind of hurt us when we scored a bunch of runs. But this year, you know, you're smarter, you're better, you're working hard in the off season. It's going to give us a better opportunity to hopefully score a bunch of runs like we did last year and keep the opponents to lower run totals.
We kind of struggled where once we would have one error in the field, it tended to keep happening. But I think with the experience we have this year, I think that will lessen and there won't be as much of that.
The Northwest Suburban Conference could be wide open this spring, and Champlin Park hopes to be in the mix with the top teams. Jason Malillo, 12 Sports.
The Rebels open the season at the Forest Lake Invitational April 8th and 9th. Their home opener is scheduled for April 14th against Maple Grove. The winter high school season in Minnesota is now in the books. We've compiled some of the highlights from the top teams and athletes from the winter season with an emphasis on the playoffs.
That ball handler, a good shooter, but also a freshman. Here's Melvin Newman for the layup. They spin him long. Here's the pass. Defenseman falls down. 2 on 0 and a goal. Billy Duma. Back for Armstrong. Armstrong to the rack. He finished with 2. One. She'll cut inside on the knee catch and a flat foot and splits him. And then Chad Maple Grove is head of the state.
Tight paddle. By your nose, which falls that. Run it up.
Here's the lob for Nico, and he hammers
memorabilia in the wing to Hayes. Inside off the glass, and that's in the State Girls Basketball Tournament.
Denton would like to see Annie Robinson be a little bit more selfish. There's a beautiful move by Bates. Driving down the lane and hammers it. Here's Coffee coming alive.
We have some good times. It was a good winter. Thanks to Jay Wilcox for putting that together.
Nice highlight, fun to see all those teams.
Right.
Thanks a lot, John. Still ahead, how using a Plymouth Park or trail could lead to a prize.
And we'll be right back.
And finally, a visit to one of the parks in Plymouth could turn you into a social media star.
The city just launched a campaign called Spotted in Plymouth Parks. Once a week over the next few months, staff members from the city's Parks and Recreation Department will visit one of Plymouth's parks and trails. They'll be on the lookout for people enjoying what the parks have to offer. If the Plymouth staff members spot you, you could win a prize and have your picture posted on the city's social media sites.
We have over 150 miles of paved trails in Plymouth. We have 9 play fields. We have an awesome array of neighborhood parks, and some people just don't know about those spaces because it's a large city. So, you know, just kind of highlighting some of our new parks, new features at these parks, and get people engaged.
To check out some of the people who've been spotted in Plymouth Park so far, just log on to Facebook or Twitter and search the hashtag Plymouth Parks.
The weather's getting nicer. What a great way to encourage people to get outdoors and discover kind of
I
a...
want to try that little kid's raft. That little girl was
Maybe not that. You don't want to be photographed doing that, right?
That's all the news for now. Thanks for joining us.
We will see you back here tomorrow starting at 4.